Democratic strategist and joins us from Ellicott City in Maryland. Good to have you on the program with us. How much of a deciding factor will Black and Latino voters likely be in this election?
I think they're incredibly important, particularly in a lot of the battleground states. Arizona, Texas, and Florida are heavily Latino, also have sizable African-American populations when we're talking about Texas and Florida specifically, and certainly in Georgia, which is also heavily African-American. If they can't get those voters out, and also in some of those Rust Belt states, if you can't get voters out in cities like Detroit and in Philadelphia, it will be a long night for the Biden campaign. They must draw out voters, African-American voters in those Rust Belt states, and certainly in the southern states. They need the Latino and African-American voters to turn out big in order to get victory. Trump has always been more popular amongst white voters, as most Republicans are. So it will be very important, not only for the presidential race, but also for the Senate races that are connected in this election season.
What do the results of early voting tell you? We have 75% of Black and Latino voters have not even cast their ballots yet. Do you think this is a case of voter apathy, or do you think we're going to see a big turnout on the actual election day?
Well, today is something that many people call souls to the polls. It's when African-American voters after church go as a group to go vote. So today I think you will see those numbers change. There will be a boost in African-American voters. I also think that African-American voters are accustomed to voting on election day. And I think that you'll see a boost there as well. So I think those numbers are going to change. I wouldn't worry about it right now. But I think the Biden campaign definitely needs to go really hard over the next couple of days, trying to get people out to vote, not letting these days slip by, not letting some people say, well, I'll vote later and then end up not voting. It's incredibly imperative that they get large numbers of African-American and Latino voters to the polls.
Has Joe Biden done enough to reach out to these key demographics and, for that matter, the Trump campaign, or have they both missed the mark here?
Well, I think both campaigns have tried. I really believe that the Biden campaign has made overtures to African Americans, primarily African American women, who are really the base and the core of the Democratic Party. They are the most loyal demographic within the Democratic Party. But African-American men are more pliable, and it seems like the Trump campaign has reached out to African-American men, and I think they're going to see some results in that. I think that you're going to see some African-American men turning against the Democratic Party, feeling that the Democratic Party has not spoken to them directly, and I think they're correct. I think that you're going to see some shift there, but largely African-American and Latino voters will be with Joe Biden and with Democratic candidates up and down the ticket in 2020.
As far as preferred candidates, I mean, as we all know, we really can't trust the polls after 2016. But what do you think we'll see on Election Day? I mean, who will African-American and Latino voters prefer? And what is it about Joe Biden or Trump that you think would appeal to people?
Well, I think the best asset to the Democratic Party is Donald Trump himself. I think a lot of his statements, people view them as racist. They see him as hostile to African Americans and Latinos, particularly to immigrants along the border. I think you will see many people coming out and trying to vote against Donald Trump and against giving him another 4 years. The family separation of largely Latino young people from their parents really frustrated a lot of African Americans and Latinos and Native Americans. So I think you're going to see largely, as it's been historically, African Americans and Latinos are going to go with Democrats. But as you stated earlier, Rachel, it all comes down to turnout, and can they turn out large enough numbers, particularly in those key states, in order to take home an electoral victory.
All right, 2 days to go. Jason Nichols, great to have you on.